And Michigan History Day, for those of you that have never participated before, one of the reasons why we really like to support this program is because it's activation to get students engaged in historical inquiry, research, and projects in the classroom and outside of the classroom. But more than that, they get to showcase their knowledge through research. So kind of think of a science fair, but with history projects. Michigan History Day is broken down into 5 different categories that students can choose to create their project. So the first category is historical papers. So these are any topic that the student chooses. They write a paper, they do their process paper, annotated bibliography. It's really getting them started for what will come in their educational career. We also have exhibits. So you can do an individual or group exhibit. A lot of the students kind of go above and beyond for these exhibits. In person, I've seen some crazy creative things that our students have developed. So it's a really fun one, especially for our artistic students out there. We also have websites that students can create. While I'm a digital native, I'm not great with technology. So it's amazing to see what some of these kids create with their websites. So what they do is they create a website with their topic that they've chosen. They show their research, their process, and they present it. We also have documentaries. Again, huge technological components. Documentaries range from 5 to 10 minutes long. Students create their own narrative. Again, research with primary and secondary sources, present the film, and then talk about it. And then last but not least is performances. And this can be done as an individual or group. And the students create their own props, again, through whatever topic that they've chosen through history. They present their performance, and then afterwards they provide a process paper and bibliography of the sources they use to do their research. So lots of stuff goes into these different elements that students can choose from. Now, this year's Michigan History Day is the theme of communication in history, which was a really difficult topic for some of our students. Just because we're talking about communication and everything's virtual this year. So we've kind of had to flip the paradigm that we usually go with for our students. But Wayne Westland schools have been really active in engaging this program within the classroom. So kudos to our teachers who are absolutely amazing, who continue to keep this program alive. And we have just over 85 student projects that have been submitted for the in-school contest on Friday. So what does that mean for judges? Well, you've probably received an email so far of kind of your judging assignments, and I'm going to walk through kind of what those assignments are and kind of the layout in a virtual realm. It's very different this year. It's absolutely new to me. I've been doing this program for about 5 years. I've never done it virtually, so this is absolutely new. But we will be meeting via Zoom with all of our little floating heads that you see here today on Friday again. I've asked judges to join the Zoom around 8:30, 8:45, just to make sure your cameras are working, your mics are working, and to make sure that you have what you need. And then what I will be doing is breaking you guys into breakout rooms. So these will be your virtual rooms that you'll be meeting students to judge their projects. As students log on, you will get a specified amount of time to speak with the students. So I'm actually going to share my screen really quickly and kind of show what I'm talking about. So you guys should have received an email similar to this. Nick is actually on the call today. So this is the email I sent Nick. And most of our judging groups, there's 2 to 3 judges per group. So there will be other judges in your room. I'll go over a little bit more in detail what this entails. But you guys, I tried to send out the projects that you should be expecting in the time frame for judging that morning. All of our judging is going to start right at 9 o'clock. So students are going to log into the Zoom, and then I will be placing them in and out of breakout rooms that you guys are already in. So you'll just kind of be waiting in your room, and then a student will pop in, and then I will take the student out when they're done presenting. Each student, depending on the category, gets 10 or 15 to 20 minutes. So if it is a historical paper, a website, an exhibit, you have 15 minutes with that student. So that includes them presenting their topic and theme. That allows you time to also ask questions about their research, what they learned. Now, I usually want to like preface that because this is virtually, students are nervous. But also, I always like to remind our students they are the subject matter experts for their presentations. I do not have experience with, let's look at what some of our student projects are, the Pony Express. I know of it. I have context of when it happened in history, but I'm by no means the expert. So when I'm asking questions to these students, we want to ask, why did they choose this topic? What did they learn? What's interesting facts? What primary or secondary sources did they gather? So really, really important that we're just kind of engaging. Some of them might be super shy. So it's just pulling that information out as you're engaging with these students. But I did try to send out what category you guys are in, the time frame, what breakout room that you guys will be in. So you'll be, Nick and his team will be in breakout room 7, and then the topics. I've also listed the last name of your students. I didn't want to send their full name via email because, things are kind of sketchy still virtually. But when you get in and the student drops in during their testing time or their interview time, just ask them, hi, my name's, introduce yourselves, and then ask them their name. And then you can drop that into the evaluation forms. And I will go through that in just a minute. Other things to look for in this email, I try to send out as many resources as possible in this one draft, so you're not getting 8 million emails from me. A few other things is that this year we are obviously, because we're virtually, we're doing digital evaluations. And we National History Day actually redid the evaluation forms this year. So they're a little different than we've done in previous years. Also, the form that I sent you can be filled out digitally. So you don't need to print them out and fill them out by hand. If you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. But you can make notes and then drop your notes into the digital form later and send those to me. But again, I will go over those forms in just a second, but I did want to let you know for our newbie judges, I do want to make sure that you guys are clicking and going to the category rules. I just want you to just kind of be aware of what to look for in terms of our websites and our documentaries. Obviously, plagiarism is a big one that we want to continue to look for. For our exhibits, it's exhibit size. So there's just a few small things just to kind of stay aware of. There is also a judging instructional video. This was done in person a few years ago. I want to say by the New Hampshire Michigan History Day. They did this video. It's really good. And it just kind of gives our judges, it's about 7 minutes long. It gives judges an understanding of really how to engage with students. Again, we're working on a virtual platform this year. It's awkward for everybody. So I just wanted to be a landing pad for you guys to raise some of your worries that you might have in terms of how to engage with the students with the topic and how they're presenting. And then of course, I highly recommend either printing this out or keeping it on your computer during the contest. I also dropped in sample judging questions. I use these every year. There are some times when you're talking to a student, they're just not giving you much and it's nerves. It might just be an introverted kid. We never know. But these questions will really help you kind of get to the meat and potatoes of their presentation if they're just not giving you the information that you're looking for to get a really well-rounded experience. So this is also available virtually for you guys. So that is the resources that I've got in those emails. If you did not get these resources, I will be resending them tomorrow with our reminder email, as well as the link for the actual contest on Friday. Any quick questions before we dive into kind of the layout for our virtual contests and our evaluation forms?
I have two. I
Yeah.
have two brief. The rules, the link to the rules, when I went to it, it didn't take me to any rules. You might want to double check that.
Okay.
And then I have another question. When we're talking to the students, we're asking them questions. Is it fair to ask them how their project might relate specifically to Detroit?
So yeah, you can definitely highlight Detroit. Many student topics are national, international topics. They're not Detroit or Michigan specific. Some students may have things that are Detroit and Michigan specific, and in which I highly suggest you kind of digging into that. But it is not a necessity of Michigan History Day for it to tie to Michigan or local history. Yep, that's a good question, George. And it is a dead link, and I will resend the not dead link for the rules. Sorry about that. You had another question, George?
What I did was when it took me to that spot, and, you know, it didn't connect to the rules. There's a search box, and I think I, put in, the rules.
Okay.
And that's how I got to the rules.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll send the direct link so people don't have to search for it. Was there any other questions before we kind of scoot through the layout?
Rob had a question.
Yeah, hey Rob. You want to unmute? There we go. Uh-oh. I can't hear you, Rob. I hear squeakies.
Hey, Bree, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, David.
I have a question since
Okay.
we're waiting for Rob. I noticed you have the category and the student, and some of those categories, can we take a look at that before we interview the students so we can be more familiar with the subject matter ourselves? Because a lot of times it's an educational lesson, not only for the student, but also for the judges as well. So a lot of times I need to revisit. You're a little familiar with it, but you need to revisit things to have more clarity in your mind so you can have a more, objective questions for the student. You can be more familiar with the subject matter as well. Yeah.
That is my hopes and dreams. So our teachers are sending emails and reminders to our students today to send copies of their papers, photos of their exhibits, links for their websites, and links for the documentaries. And it is my hope that by tomorrow I have most, if not all of them. I can't promise all, but I will promise most, at least given to me so I can send those out to you. So it is my intention to send them out to our different judging groups based on what is received. So that'll go out with like the reminder that I send out to you guys. Really the big thing is we have a lot of students who did papers this year. And usually for contests, our judges get the papers about a week beforehand. But because this is a school contest, usually when we do school contests, we really don't get to read the papers until the night that we do the contest at the school. So our students just haven't gotten them to me just yet. Also because of district guidelines, I suppose. There's restrictions on how students can share information outside of their school. So everything has to be sent to the teachers and then it's sent to me. So there's like a little pecking order we've got to go through. But David, I am hoping to send stuff to you guys tomorrow evening, if not very early Thursday. So you guys have a little bit of leeway to dig into the 8 to 10 projects each group has. For those that we don't get any information ahead of time about, have no worries. Yesterday I did a school contest for Alpharon Quran Academy, and I literally had no idea what any of these students were doing until I literally met them virtually. For our exhibits, students actually made physical exhibits and they just presented their exhibit via Zoom. And then I learned about the Quran and the Bible and how communication of historical books. So it's a little bit more difficult not doing it in person, but it's definitely doable even if you don't have the information ahead of time, is what I'm trying to reaffirm. But to that end, I will be sure to try to get information to you and into your virtual hands as soon as possible. When I get it, you get it. But yes, is there any other questions before I move on? Because I did want to elaborate on that a little bit more. Yes.
I have a bit of a question. If we print out enough of these forms, the actual evaluation forms, can we then transfer them online?
Yeah, so if you print them out, fill them out by hand, and if you want to scan them and send them to me, that is fine.
Okay.
And if you can't scan, if you want to take pictures of them and send them to me, that is also fine. I informed the school and the students that they will not be getting their evaluation forms until Monday following the contest. A few reasons is that you guys are meeting with all these students in the morning, and I would be really surprised if you can finish all of your evaluations during the judging. It's very difficult to do. Like I said, I had a contest yesterday. I made notes. I don't know if you can't see it because my virtual, but I literally made handwritten notes and I'm dropping them into a digital form this afternoon to send them to the kids. And also I have a family event that is taking my attention on Sunday, so I won't be available. But I will have everything back to the school once you guys send it to me. So Monday I'll be following up with all of our judging teams with what I may or may not be missing, and students will get it done.
Yeah, I guess what I was saying is if I filled them out on hard copy, then I could also go back online and just fill it out on there and then just send the digital.
Yep, that works fine too. Yep. Okay, Rob, your mic still isn't working. So if you have a question, if you want to drop it into chats, that might work. Was there any other questions before we scoot on through?
I have another question, Bree.
Yeah.
Nick, I think he's in coordinating the junior area for the students. It would be nice if all the people that's in Nick's group can get together before we begin to do any judging, to go over the subject matter again with everybody in our group, so we can share ideas about what these topics are and be more familiar with it, because sometimes people have more knowledge about the subject matter than someone else, and then we can go over that with our group for those people that want to meet in that area. So that would be nice if Nick can do that. Once we get the data from you, we can, visit that with Nick and our group, and everybody can share the ideas on the topics. That want to do that.
Yeah. So, so that's actually a really great point too, David. And I'm gonna share my screen again, just so I can highlight this. In this email, I also pointed out who your team captain is. And obviously this has Melissa and David also on this call. Thanks, guys. So Nick is gonna be your captain. When you guys are in your breakout rooms, again, if you log in at 8:30, you'll have 30 minutes before your first student joins to introduce yourselves, kind of make a game plan for how, the projects that you'll be going over, so on and so forth. It also has the contact information for each of the judges. So if you want to email them and, make a time to chat beforehand, that is perfectly fine too. The reason why I provided the email contacts is because you guys will be sending your evaluations either to me directly, or you can send them to your team captain and he or she will send them to me directly. So I just want to make sure I pointed that out. So yes, David, your group, you guys are more than welcome to meet ahead of time if you guys have the flexibility to meet. But like I said, on Friday, I will be opening up our Zoom at 8:15, no later than 8:15. So if you guys sign on right at 8:15, 8:30, 8:45, that's totally up to you, as long as it's before 9 a.m. And I will put you into your breakout room so you guys can kind of chat. And then before I start sending students in, I'll let you guys know that students are coming. And then, yeah, that'll give you guys time to kind of facilitate the game plan and whatever topics that you're going over for the projects. So yes, that is awesome. And that contact information is there. In terms of evaluations and what that is looking like, let me share my screen and kind of show you. This is an evaluation that I am working on, again, for one of the students that did a project for our Quran Academy that I virtually competed at yesterday. It's all a blur. So you can put the student names here, first, last name, if possible. You can also put in the project ID number, and that's kind of confusing, I know. But the project ID number is going to be, let me show you where that is going to be these entry numbers. You can just put in that number if you want. Again, it's whatever is easiest for you in your group and organization. But this is our virtual digital evaluation forms for our experienced judges. As you can see, this is totally new this year. The layout is very different. But the nice thing is I'm not totally sure if you guys can see this, so I will zoom in. All of these boxes can be checked virtually. This project was a really great project. It was a documentary, which it says up top. So make sure you have the right evaluation form. If I did not send you the right one, please let me know. But yes, you can kind of go through 80% of their projects are based on historical quality. I'm going to ask that we provide a little bit of grace just because we are working virtually this year, that we don't judge too harshly. We want to be fair. That's what I'm asking of all of our judges. We want to be fair. Obviously, we want these students to learn, but really the big thing is just be fair and be nice. We don't want to rip all of their hopes and dreams away. And we always say with our judging in our in-person judging every year when we do this contest is kind of do a compliment sandwich. So, provide a great compliment, then provide constructive feedback, and then another nice compliment. So we got a nice little compliment sandwich, which is what I do on the bottom. The bottom of this first page of the evaluation, it says strengths and areas for improvement. This was, again, a documentary. So the introduction was really, really great. Introduced the translation of this particular work in the Library of Congress. But part of her primary research, she didn't reference where she got this translation from, unless she read the actual book in Islam from the Library of Congress, or in Arabic. So yes, so it was just, it was a book of Islam in Arabic. So I was like, you really need to provide where you got this translation, right? Because that was the whole purpose of her project, was this translation. Also images, where she's getting images. So I just kind of highlighted what the narration sounded like. For our documentaries, we want to make sure that the narration is always, of course, louder than the background music. So again, constructive feedback. And then we kind of go into the clarity of the presentation. Again, this is documentary specific. I'll dig into exhibits because most of you who are on this call are actually doing exhibits. So we have what the clarity of the presentation looked like. I checked boxes. The boxes that you check do not have to be just in one column. Judges, it does not have to be just in one column. If the audio is great or is in the excellent category, but the visual sources really suck, you can put it in the fair category. It does not have to stay in one column. So that's really nice because in years previous, you could really only check one box. So now you can check as many boxes as you want. Then of course, our documentaries can't be more than 10 minutes. So I just clicked through what was and was not submitted. This will be a really big one for our virtual contest, and one all of our students are going to expect is that at the end of our exhibits, documentaries, historical papers, they were supposed to submit everything ahead of time. If you do not receive something ahead of time or you don't get a link for their paper after the contest, on the evaluation, if it says process paper is submitted, like this section, I did not get a process paper yesterday, so I clicked no. You can put no. The students need to be aware that this is an expectation of them for the district competition, for the state competition, and if they go past state to the national competition, they're gonna need these details. I'm still working on general comments for this evaluation. Usually 3, 4, 5 bullet points and you guys are good. You don't need to like write a whole narrative about how horrible or great it was. Just things that these students can take back to their project to either edit it, change it, fix it, so on and so forth. So I will show our evaluation forms for exhibits just to kind of break down what that looks like. I have a cat that's trying to jump in my lap right now. So let me bring up. Why is it not bringing this up? Okay. So this is going to be the exhibit form. Hopefully you guys can see all that. My Adobe likes leaving me lots of messages. All right, so hopefully you guys can see this. This is of course exhibit. It says exhibit at the top, same box as before, student names, project title, or if you just want to drop in that identifying entry number for them, that is perfectly fine too. Fill this out. Again, same thing as documentary. Historical quality is going to be 80% of their grade for the project. You can go through these boxes together as a judging team or individually. That is another kind of false information. In the school level, judges do not have to agree on how they're judging the projects. It's only at the district level and above that there has to be a true consensus. So when you're providing evaluation critique on these forms, all three of you do not need to make sure all of your boxes are absolutely the same. Just like your comments don't have to be absolutely the same. The only thing that I need consensus on is who your top 3 projects are that you would like to see progress to the district level. So team captains, keep that in mind. You guys will be the ones facilitating the conversation of who the top 3 are. I will need to know who the top 3 are when you send in your evaluations on Monday. Again, you can just send me the student names, the project title, or the entry number on those lists that I send you. But yes, just like the documentary, there's the strengths and areas for improvements. Then there is our 20%, which is the clarity of the presentation. This is going to be a little bit more difficult for our exhibits. Most of the students are taking photos of their exhibit boards or creating virtual exhibits to kind of showcase their information. for the virtual contest on Friday. So you might have a board that a kid is showing you in a video and it might be kind of hard to see. So just provide some direction to the student like, hey, talk to me about what's on your board because you can't physically see it. So this will probably need a little bit of flexibility from our judges. And then some students will have, of course, it virtually. And in the case that it is virtually, just provide your honest feedback down here about the sizing, whether it contains so many words and so forth. So we're just being flexible for right now on this one. This one's a hard one to do just because we're in such a virtual realm right now. Do we have any questions about the evaluation forms? For each evaluation form, just file and then you can save as, and you can save it to your desktop. But usually when I save as, I would do, I would just change like exhibit and then add the student's name, which I'll just put Bree. Or you can put their identifying number, which is 1601. So whatever works for you, and then save it, and then you can send me that copy. Just so you have multiple copies of your forms. You're not, erasing any information that you put in for other students or projects. And then, like I said, I took notes yesterday, and I'm just adding them into these forms after the fact. I'm old school like that. I can't even believe I just said that. Writing on paper is old school now, which is a concern.
I have a question.
Yes. Yeah.
So your email is not going to bounce back if we send you 20 evaluation forms.
Nope.
Okay, good.
My email loves emails. Yep. No, you're more than welcome. If you want to send them one by one, that's fine. If you want to put them into a Google Drive and then give me a link to a Google Drive. I'm not going to create any restrictions on how you guys get me the forms. Because I feel like that would just confuse a lot of people. I mean, a lot of you that are on this call, you know me personally. If you want to print them off and drop them off at the museum, you're okay to do that too. I will be at the museum on Monday. So I want to create as much flexibility for you guys, just because you guys are going above and beyond to participate in this, for which I truly, truly appreciate, obviously. So yeah, however you need to send them to you, my email will not bounce back. The only way it'll bounce back, Liz, is if you send me too many in one email. Outlook has restrictions on how big the file size can be. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, because for my job, sometimes reports come back and you're like,
yeah. Yeah, it's easiest for those of you that are a little bit more computer savvy. It's definitely easier if you can drop it into a Google Drive and send me a Google Drive link to all of them, and then I'll just pull them from your drive, and then I'll email you back letting you know that I got them. That is another thing. When you guys send me an evaluation form, I will be sending you confirmation that I have received it. If you do not receive an email from me, let me know. Give me about 48 hours to respond. But if you don't receive an email of confirmation that I've received your email by Tuesday, there's a problem and I either got hit by a bus or the world ended. But yes, you will receive a confirmation email from me that I got it. Any other questions? Hopefully this all makes sense.
I have a general question.
Yeah.
To the veteran judges who've done this before, any advice, tips, or tricks that you wanted to pass along to us newbies that might be useful?
Any of our veterans have any advice?
So I think Bree said it earlier, you just have to give these kids confidence. A lot of times they're very nervous, and I think they might be probably more so this year because they're looking into our homes and stuff. And just, they are the subject matter experts. They know what's going on. So sometimes you have to kind of get them out of their shell, but usually they'll just start talking. Like if you give them a little reassurance.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would reinforce the positive ideas that some of these projects at this level are really bad. And in that case, it's easy to dismiss them, but still give them some hope of some kind. So I like your sandwich idea, Bree.
No, Jim, and thank you for mentioning that. I forgot to warn you guys a little bit. This is a point in the process for a lot of students that they're still pulling in research. They're still kind of figuring out what's going on with their project, what direction it's taking. So this is really a stepping stone for them. So like Jim said, these are not like super finished, polished products that you're going to be getting from the students. Some of them will be, but not all of them. So some of them will be kind of bad, and I hate saying that, but it's true. It's beautiful messes, so to speak. So yes, just kind of be flexible with that too. And if you're like, hey, this is glaringly horrible, obviously don't say that to the students, but while you're interviewing them, you can provide that feedback. Like, hey, you know what would be really great? Perhaps you can get a primary source from your local museum that relates to the Underground Railroad, or perhaps you can reach out to the local community of the deaf about American Sign Language. So you can provide that commentary during the interview process with the students. Yes, we have Melissa.
So basically these projects are like, they can polish them up as with each competition then, so that we're kind of giving them a direction to go to make their presentation better.
Yep. Yeah, so this is the first stepping stone. And then if they progress from this school competition, we might see them again at the district competition on March 6th. And if they do really well then they're going to go to the state competition, in which many of us will see them again at the district or at the state. And if they do really well at the state, they'll go to the national competition, which will be held virtually, but usually it's in Maryland every year. I mean, last year, Michigan had 6 projects that went to the national level. 2 of the documentaries that I ended up judging at the state competition, while they didn't win, they didn't place for 2nd or 3rd at the national, they received honorary mention, and they got to show their documentary at the National Museum in Washington, D.C. Like, these kids have projects that are doing amazing things and really delving into really unique history. So there's diamonds in the rough out there, and then there's diamonds, but we got to filter through all of it. So yeah, there's a lot of potential. I've seen some amazing stuff come from these students year to year. It's my elevator pitch.
Bree, I was going to recommend that one of the things that I do to try to get rid of some of that nervousness is I approach it as more of a conversation, especially at this level where you're approaching it as a conversation, and like, tell me a little bit about your project, and then, providing that feedback in a conversation and letting them know that they can make these changes and these adjustments and improve on this.
Mm-hmm.
This is just not the end. Really helps them out a lot. So if you can make it very conversational, then they kind of relax. You will notice some common, I think, mistakes as well. The citing sources tends to be really common.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing documentaries, especially if it like still photographs and so forth, explaining to students what an annotated bibliography is. So they'll have a bibliography, but a lot of them won't annotate it.
Mm-hmm.
So, just explaining to them what the differences are. And then they'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, I understand that now. But I think probably, the best piece of advice is to make it conversational. And then that eliminates some of that tension and some of the nervousness, and then they'll open up. And I've judged almost all categories except I don't think I've judged performance, and it's amazing on each category and what the students provide. But one of the questions I ask is, what did you learn about the process? What did you, not only about the topic, but about the process? And and it's really interesting to hear their mindset with regards to the process and how they approached their product. So I would recommend asking that as well, because they really seem to be excited about talking about the process.
Yeah,
Bree,
no,
I got
that's
a
a really
question.
great point.
I have a question, Bree. Speaking about the process, time is always a factor in doing anything properly. How much time did they get received to do these projects?
So a lot of these projects have been developed, researched, written, and created within the last month and a half. So most of the classes started at the end of November, beginning of December, but then they had that 2-week break for the holidays. So yeah, they're kind of in different spots in their projects. So that's a good point, David, is that this is, again, still kind of new in the process. This feedback will provide them the next stepping stone to create a more dynamic presentation that will go to the district level.
You know,
any other questions? Oh.
What I find out about, as a historian myself, what I found out is that a lot of times beginning as a small project, it can lead into something much larger, like a book. You know, you say, wow, I got a lot of material here. I'm going to write a book now. So this is the genesis of that creation, and could be a real good thing with encouragement.
Oh, no, for sure. Let me, I'm actually going to screen share. I took a screenshot of one of our projects yesterday because I kind of wanted to show you what it looked like. So let me show you what one of my exhibits looked like yesterday. So hopefully you guys can see this. So this was a group of students. This was their exhibit board. So they're showing me through the computer. Obviously, I can't tell for sure how many words are on the board, and I can't see where their sources are. So it's really communicating with the students like, hey, what's going on here? But David, this is a big example of students that were like, hey, I want to talk about communication through Holy Scripture.
Wow.
Huge topic. These kids were 6th graders.
Wow.
Huge topic, right? And the students had mentioned, I was like, okay, so what was kind of the reasoning behind selecting this topic? And one of them's like, well, I was reading the Quran with my family, and I thought, like, how is God talking through the book? And then how are people using this book to talk about God? And I'm like, what? And then they're like, but there's more than one holy book. And this one, it was a group project. So one student pulled scripture from the Quran and the other one pulled scripture from the Bible. And he's like, the Bible was bigger than I thought it was. You know, he's like, wow, this became way more work than I thought. So yeah, so there's some kids that will bite off more than they can chew. That is the whole reasoning behind me showing you this, but also to show you kind of what it's going to look like.
That's unbelievable for 6th graders.
I know. I was very proud of them. It was a proud mama moment. It was a really cool topic. And
shocked and awed by how smart these kids are.
I know.
Like, oh, last year I learned some physics. Cool.
Charlotte, it looks like you have a question.
I do, and it's because we couldn't open the original link on the categories and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but you mentioned that, you know, these go on to the district level. Does the contest, is it like somewhat of an elimination, like a playoff, and people are dropped from it? Because that wasn't made clear. I wasn't.
Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah. So this judging rounds, 3 students, so the top 3 projects in each category are actually the ones that will progress to the district level.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
was, but I just because you were talking about like, you know, how they can make their exhibits better, the next step and stuff.
Yeah. So for students that don't progress, they have the content. So they have the, the feedback to either use the project in the classroom. So many times our teachers are actually using this as a classroom project, as well as a project that can be used for Michigan History Day. We also have some teachers that also like to receive the feedback to kind of see where their students' strengths and weaknesses are with finding primary resources, understanding what secondary resources are, to Tim's point, understanding how to do an annotated bibliography, and so on and so forth. So this is helping our students to also build further knowledge on really becoming the historians of tomorrow, right? Or at least the enthusiasts of history for tomorrow. I don't think all of them will be historians, but.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, of course. Oh, Joanne, you have a question. Yep, you can unmute.
My question is a very delicate and interesting one, mainly because I've worked in schools for too long.
Okay.
What do we do with the project that you look at and looks like it was done by a corporation, more like it was mom or dad's project rather than the child's?
Yep. So that's when you ask a question, what elements of this project did you do yourself? Yes, we've had that before where mom and dad also get very engaged in building the project. I had this one student that it was an in-person contest and he had like this entire World War II battlefield. And like the little miniatures looked like they were hand-shaped clay sculptures from an actual artist. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure you didn't make those. I could be wrong, but yeah, usually they'll be like, oh, well, I had help on this from my mom or dad, and they'll let you know. And then in your comments, you can just, add the feedback, make sure that going forward, your project is made by you as it's presented. We also have a lot of discrepancies with students that can afford more elements that are bright and glitzy, especially on project or like on the exhibits. Whereas some other students can't afford the extra lights or the bigger board or the fancy construction paper. So that gap is also evident in person, and you might see it virtually tomorrow or on Friday too. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Hopefully I answered a lot of the questions. I'm hoping this was helpful. Hopefully it waylaid some fears that you may have about doing this. Again, this is intended to be a really fun opportunity for our judges, for our students, and of course for our teachers that are participating. You'll see myself on Friday morning. Leah, hey, Leah, if you want to say hi, she's going to be my second in command that day on behalf of the Historical Society to kind of just make sure everybody's going where they need to go. Leah, if you just want to introduce yourself really quickly.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Leah Buhajar. I'm a docent lead with the Detroit Historical Society. I've been there for like two and a half years now. I lose track. But I'm just, I'll be like Bree's second in command. So if at any point on Friday, you can't get a hold of Bree or anything like that, you can get in contact with me. Bree can send out my email and everything, and I will be logged in all day. And I'm also leading one of the groups. I'm the captain for Breakout Room 4. So
yay!
See y'all then.
Yeah, so Leah has done this competition a few times as well.
Yeah, this will be like my third round with Michigan History Day. So
yay! Yeah, so she's another, in case you guys have any questions that are like, hey, as an experienced judge, what the heck do I do? She can also be a point of contact there as well. But this has been recorded. I will be sending this out to every judge on my list this afternoon. So if you guys want to go through it again, Rob, we're still having mic issues with you. So if you want to connect via the phone, and maybe we can try to figure out how to troubleshoot that, because you will need your mics for the contest on Friday. Also, Rob, it's really good to see your voice or see your face. But without further ado, I'm going to give you guys the rest of your morning while it snows. Go shovel some snow, be safe, don't fall, stay warm. And then I will see you guys all on Friday, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and ready to judge some students in a nice, kind way. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks,
All right,
Bree.
thank you, Bree. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank
you.
Nice to
Thank
see
you.
Thank you so much.
It's so good to see you guys. Oh, I miss seeing people in person.
I know. It was nice to see you. Thank you. We'll see you Friday.
Yes, thank you. Hey, Nick. Oh, Charlotte, it was so good to see you too. It's
good
been
to
too
see-
long.
a year. It's ridiculous.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I can't believe it's been so long.
Well, like I'll when you have people come back in person, I'll probably do it. You know?
Yeah. I know now that the first wave of vaccines has been released, there's a lot of people that have gotten their first and second dose.
No,
So
I kind of would like to get it. No, I'm eligible, but I haven't got it. I haven't.
well, I'm there every once in a while. So if you want to pop by the museum, we're open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if you're coming down, give me an email or a text and be like, hey, and I might be there.
All right. Well, take care. It's nice to see
Have
you.
a good one. Good to see you too.
Bye.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
Bye.
David, I sent you an email proposing a virtual meet. That would be awesome if you. I totally think you're right on, dude. If you wanna chat about what's coming up, I'm in. All right.
Sweet.
I look forward to
Thank you.
seeing you guys going to the museum. I'm excited about that. I didn't know.
Yes.
So sorry, I'm totally new to this, but
Oh yeah.
this sounds great.
Yeah, Nick, you're with the district, correct? Or with the schools, correct?
Yes, I'm a newly instructional coach at Adams Middle School. Prior to that, I taught accelerated civics and economics.
Okay.
At Westland John Glenn, and then world history and U.S. history. So I do have the history background, which is
Yay.
I'm a blessed.
Have you ever heard of Michigan History Day before this year?
Honestly, no. Apart from
Okay.
like the email thing that's like, here's a little thing you like Constitution Day.
Yeah.
I haven't. Usually
Okay.
in my accelerated classes, we're getting ready to ramp up for Black History Month. So
Gotcha.
we're getting Sojourner Truth. We're lining up those characters for projects, but I'm really excited about this, especially at the middle school.
Yeah.
I think this is a great foundational element for those kids building portfolios, for those kids learning how to build a project that's
Yep.
strong. So I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. Well, I know that your group I know that all of you are newbies in your group. So if you have any further questions of kind of where to go, what to do, please don't hesitate to reach out. I try to do my best to get somebody experienced with each newbie, but there were just more newbies than experienced judges this year, which is awesome that we have a good judging pool. David is amazing. He's with our Black Historic Sites Committee at our museums, but oh my gosh, David runs all sorts of crazy stuff in downtown Detroit. So you guys will have a great opportunity to meet. And then Melissa, who's also on your team, she's been a docent at our museum for the last 5 years. So she knows a lot about Detroit history that she can share too. So definitely connect. And if you guys have any questions, holler.
Yeah, I'm not intimidated by the process. I have been affiliated with DECA.
Okay, yeah.
And judged for DECA, so this seems very similar to that
Beautiful.
style. But yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. David,